Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something fundamental, often kind of overlooked when we think about success.
Yeah, this whole go it alone idea.
Exactly. We're talking about the power of relationships, of mutual support. We're drawing a lot from Keith Ferrazzi's book, Who's Got Your Back?
Great book.
It is. And we want to understand how to build what he calls these lifeline relationships. So the mission today is basically to, get past that myth of the lone wolf achiever.
And see how these connections actually fuel success, right? Both at work and just in life. It's a really powerful shift in how you think about achieving things.
Totally. We're fed this story all the time, aren't we? The solo genius, the entrepreneur just grinding it out alone.
But what Ferrazzi shows and what we're digging into is that real success and, frankly, happiness, it's tied so much more closely to having people, having your back, your support system.
Okay, so where does Ferrazzi come from on this? He's known as Mr. Relationship, like that's his brand almost.
It is, yeah. And it started early for him, back when he was at Deloitte.
Yeah.
He saw firsthand what a genuinely supportive team could do.
Right, he was young, leading this big global project, surrounded by really experienced people. And they weren't just colleagues, they were invested in each other.
That experience really stuck with him. He called it his Camelot moment. It wasn't just about meeting goals, it was about everyone helping each other grow.
What's interesting, though, is that he didn't really create that environment, he just found himself in it.
Exactly. And then later, when he became an entrepreneur doing his own thing, he really felt the lack of that constant support. That's when he realized just how crucial that network had been for guidance, for accountability, all of it.
And here's the thing, even someone so focused on relationships hit a wall himself. There's this key moment, right, with Peter Guber.
Oh, yeah, the movie producer guy. Huge figure.
Huge. Batman, Rain Man. And they're talking apparently in Guber's house, surrounded by all this cool movie memorabilia.
Like the Batman suit. Yeah, I remember reading that.
And Guber just lays it out there, tells Ferrazzi straight up, you need to focus more.
Talk about direct feedback. But that's the point, isn't it? Even the relationship experts need people to call them out sometimes.
That was a real turning point. It got Ferrazzi thinking, digging into the science of peer support. Why does it work so well?
So he started looking at things like Weight Watchers. His sister Karen had success with that, and Alcoholics Anonymous. These programs are built on that don't do it alone idea.
It's not a new concept, is it? It's proven.
Absolutely. And he didn't just stop there. He looked into psychological studies, talked to really smart people like Maury Sheckman.
The really candid consultant.
That's him. And Dr. Mark Golston, who used to be a hostage negotiator, wrote Get Out of Your Own Way.
Wow. So a hostage negotiator's insights feeding into relationship building.
Yeah, and both Sheckman and Golston ended up joining Ferrazzi's Research Institute. So this wasn't just gut feelings. He wanted to ground it in actual research. Strong psychological foundations.
Which brings us to why this matters so much now. For you listening, people are looking for more than just a salary, right? They want meaning.
Definitely. There's this search for purpose.
Right.
And what Ferrazzi and all this research suggests is that these lifeline relationships, they're key to finding that meaning. They make work and life feel more worthwhile.
Think about this stat from Gallup. Tom Rath mentions it in Vital Friends. If you have a best friend at work, you are 7 times more likely to be engaged.
7 times. That's massive.
It is. And it's not just engagement. Employee satisfaction goes up by like 50%. And performance, too. There was a Harvard Business Review study, I think 2007, on global teams.
Oh, yeah, I know the one.
It found that strong social bonds were a huge predictor of whether those teams actually performed well.
So connection isn't just some fluffy, nice-to-have thing. It directly impacts the bottom line, engagement, everything.
Right. It's a fundamental human need with real, tangible results. But as the book points out, companies often don't really, formally encourage these deep bonds.
It's like these potential tribes just waiting to connect.
Okay, so how do we actually build these lifeline relationships? Ferrazzi gives us 4 core mindsets. The first one is generosity.
And this isn't just like buying coffee for someone. It's a real commitment to mutual support, being willing to share what you know, genuinely wanting others to succeed.
It breaks down that isolation, creates what he calls a safe space.
Ferrazzi's own story here is quite revealing. He went to a Tony Robbins seminar.
Beat with Destiny.
Yeah, that one. And he realized his core question, deep down, was always, am I safe? Which drove him to focus on money, proving himself.
A scarcity mindset, basically.
Exactly. The belief that there's not enough to go around. But his breakthrough was seeing that his biggest successes, the things that made him feel best, came from adding value to other people, making them feel good about their work.
So shifting from scarcity to abundance, believing there is enough success, enough opportunity to share.
That shift is crucial. It unlocks your ability to connect and give freely.
It reminds me of that Viktor Frankl example, even in a Nazi concentration camp.
Incredible story.
He found ways to be generous, sharing tiny bits of food, counseling others. It shows that generosity isn't about how much you have, it's about the act itself. It builds resilience.
Then there's Susan's story in the book. She was terrified of asking for help. Pure scarcity thinking.
Right, feeling like she'd be a burden or look weak.
But she finally took a risk, asked a question, and got this wave of support. It even helped her leave a bad job and find a better one.
It illustrates that idea of obligatory interdependence.
Yeah, Marilyn Brewer's term. Basically, we're wired to need each other. It's how we survive. Asking for help isn't weakness, it's how we're built.
But it's hard to overcome that feeling, isn't it? That fear of asking.
It is. But studies actually show we consistently underestimate how willing people are to help. Flynn and Lake did research on this. We expect a no, but people are often quite happy to lend a hand.
So the fear is often bigger than the reality. Don't let it stop you.
And this generosity thing, it's not just face-to-face. Look at greenlightcommunity.com. Online connections turning into real support.
Jorge Calan's quote about the intimacy and kindness there. It shows deep support can happen anywhere. Lena West, the consultant, she talks about committing to mutual support always, business and personal.
Right. It's a way of operating.
But sometimes that fear of vulnerability gets in the way of generosity, both giving and receiving. The book mentions mortality salience.
Uh-huh. That subconscious fear of death popping up as anxiety about smaller things, like asking for help. Our brain kind of misfires, sees social risk as a survival threat.
Recognizing that can help us push past it, though.
Definitely. Which leads right into the second mindset. Vulnerability.
Letting your guard down intentionally.
Yeah, to build real understanding. That's how you create trust, intimacy within that safe space generosity started. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's the path to connection.
I like the analogy Ferrazzi uses, the Renaissance Cathedral dome.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
It looks amazing, almost impossible, but it stands on these massive, solid collars and foundations. Being vulnerable is like building those strong foundations. It takes courage.
Outward strength needs that inner courage, that willingness to be well seen. As Justice Brandeis said, sunlight is the best disinfectant.
Bring things out into the open. Share the struggles.
Exactly. The quicker you name what's going on, the faster your support network can actually help you deal with it.
Like the story of David, the executive who told his team about his difficult relationship with his competitive dad.
Yeah, how he always felt in his shadow, how he thought his dad almost enjoyed seeing him struggle. Sharing that completely changed the dynamic with his team. They understood him better.
It fostered empathy. That's the power of sharing context.
And the payoff is huge. People who are open, authentic, they build stronger relationships, period. You trust them more because you're not wondering what they're hiding.
And interestingly, the book says vulnerable people are often seen as more competent.
Right, because being direct, willing to tackle issues head on, that signals strength, not weakness. Authenticity builds respect.
Okay, so generosity creates the space, vulnerability builds the trust. What's next?
The third mindset, candor.
Brutal honesty.
Well, honesty. The freedom to be totally straight with the people you trust. Because vulnerability cleared the way for that kind of feedback.
So not like those anonymous 360 reviews some companies do.
Exactly. Ferrazzi critiqued those. Anonymity can just make people defensive or resentful. It lacks the directness, the personal accountability of real candor.
You need that face-to-face, constructive conversation, addressing the elephants in the room.
Or the stinking fish, as one client called them. Those issues everyone knows about, but nobody wants to talk about.
Goober telling Ferrazzi to focus, that was pure candor. Bob Kerrigan's point is great, too. Just acknowledging the unspoken stuff is often the biggest step.
Ferrazzi tells another story about confronting this hard-driving CEO. He pointed out how the CEO seemed to enjoy tweaking people.
Oof, that sounds tough.
It was. But then he asked, is that actually working for you? It wasn't just criticism. It was candor delivered with care. Telling the truth because you care about the other person.
So how do we actually encourage this? It sounds risky.
It requires trust and respect as a foundation. The book suggests maybe giving someone a heads up like, hey, can we talk about something potentially difficult later? Give them time to prepare. Proactively ask trusted people for their honest perspective.
Build that space for honesty. Okay, that makes sense. Generosity, vulnerability, candor. What's the fourth?
Accountability. This is where the rubber meets the road.
Following through on what you say you'll do.
Yes, and being willing to give and receive that tough love needed for real, lasting change.
The example of Ferrazzi's sister Karen and her weight loss buddy Jan Shepard is perfect. That one-on-one support kept her on track.
Totally. We see it in fitness all the time, right? Personal trainers, workout partners. Michelle Mudge Riley, the doctor who runs, she relies on knowing her friend is waiting for her.
Even simple things like swapping gym bags so you have to go, it builds in the accountability.
And Greg Seal, Ferrazzi's old boss from Deloitte, he was huge for Ferrazzi's business accountability.
Holding his feet to the fire on focus and finances.
Yeah, they had regular meetings, tough conversations. Greg wasn't afraid to challenge him when he got distracted by shiny objects. And importantly, Greg empowered Ferrazzi's team to hold him accountable too.
So it's not just top-down, it's shared responsibility.
Right. And you can be proactive about building this. Greg Hartl just started inviting people he met at events to form his own support group. He took ownership.
So if you're looking for someone to be in your corner, what should you look for?
The book boils it down. Are they willing to be candid, open, and vulnerable? Can they hold you accountable and let you hold them accountable? Are they generous?
And what about expertise? Do they need to be an expert in your specific field?
Not necessarily deep technical expertise. What matters more is what the book calls comprehension. Do they have practical know-how? Do they understand your challenges, your goals?
Like Debbie Muller needing business advisors, not necessarily deep software experts.
Exactly. Look for people who offer that honesty, support, accountability, and genuine understanding.
Okay, we have the mindsets. How do we practically build this inner circle?
Ferrazzi really advocates for the long, slow dinner. Inspired by Greg Seal, apparently.
Sounds nice, but what's the point?
It's about creating the environment for deeper connection. No distractions, no time pressure. That allows trust, openness, vulnerability to really emerge.
Takes the pressure off, lets defenses down.
Yeah, exactly. You get past the surface stuff. The key ingredients are having a purpose like mutual exploration, encouraging storytelling about goals and struggles, focusing on the now and the future, and really listening actively.
Intentional conversation in a relaxed setting.
That's the core of it. And finding these people might take effort. You might need a few long, slow dinners before you click with the right individuals. Reach out widely, be persistent.
Like building any valuable relationship, it takes time.
For sure. And history is full of these dream teams, right?
Oh yeah, like the Inklings. C.S. Lewis, Tolkien.
Giving each other feedback, support, leading to incredible work.
Or Bill Wilson and AA, the power of peers overcoming addiction together.
Even Ford, Edison, and Firestone, titans of industry, but they were friends who gave each other advice, encouragement, candor. They even went camping together. The Vagabonds.
Ah, love that.
Yeah.
So powerful examples of collaborative support.
Definitely. Now, beyond that close inner circle, Ferrazzi talks about creating more formal support structures, these green light groups.
Okay, what's the idea there?
A key concept is connecting company goals to personal learning goals. So it's not just about hitting targets for the company, it's about your own growth too. Makes people more engaged.
Like Judy adding learning goals to her sales quota. Makes it personal.
Exactly. And these groups are powerful for pushing you out of your comfort zone. Jim Whaley at Siemens talks about needing that tough talk from partners who care about your goals.
Which leads to this idea of sparring.
Right. Constructive conflict. Challenging each other's thinking to get to better solutions. It's not about winning an argument. It's about learning, potentially being wrong.
Maxine trusting her advisor Jimmy, Mark's men's group. They show it works when there's trust.
The process involves really digging into the issue, asking open-ended questions to get the why, then challenging the assumptions, looking for blind spots. It helps address behaviors that hold us back, whether that's being too aggressive or too avoidant.
Sounds intense, but useful. Are there pitfalls to watch out for with these groups?
Oh, definitely. One is multitasking. Ferrazzi admits it helped him early on, but later it diluted his focus. A strength became a weakness without feedback.
Good point. What else?
The know-it-all trap. Only looking for info that confirms what you already think. You have to actively seek out different challenging perspectives.
Need that candor again.
You do. Also, don't expect perfection right away. It's a process. Mistakes happen. And aim for collaboration, not just compromise.
What's the difference there?
Compromise often means someone feels like they lost something. Collaboration means working together so everyone contributes and owns the solution. Ferrazzi does an exercise showing this. Compromisers feel they gave something up. Collaborators feel they built something together.
Got it. So strive for win-win. If someone wants to start their own group, what are the key steps?
Find the right people. First, remember, candid, vulnerable, accountable, generous with comprehension. Then figure out the group's focus, business, personal, whatever. Set ground rules, promises, and principles, and structure the meetings, how often, the format, maybe a rotating monitor.
The book gives examples of promises and principles, right?
Yeah, things like joy, authenticity, positivity, forgiveness, trust, honesty, accountability, celebrating failures as learning, humility, open communication sets the tone.
And conflict will happen. How do you handle that?
Patience, humility, respect. Aim for collaboration, learn from it. Don't let it derail the group.
Can this peer support model work formally in a workplace?
Absolutely. The book cites Thomson Reuters markets during a merger. They formalized peer support, even used a facilitator initially to encourage candor. It was critical.
And Strauss-Zelnick's company culture built on candor.
Exactly. It shows it can be embedded organizationally, and crucially, you need to sustain it, pay it forward, keep the support flowing.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, we've really explored the huge impact of building these lifeline relationships. It comes down to those 4 mindsets: generosity,
Vulnerability,
candor,
and accountability. It's a shift away from thinking just about me to thinking about us. Mutual support.
So for everyone listening, maybe take a second. Think about your own life. Where could deeper connections, more mutual support, make a real difference?
Yeah, reflect on those 4 mindsets. How could you apply them more intentionally? Who could be part of your inner circle? Or maybe even a support group down the line.
And it's interesting, Ferrazzi even applies this to sales with the never sell alone idea, moving from lone wolves to team selling.
Right, like Thrivent Financial saw huge success with that. Better productivity, retention, happier customers. It works across the board.
Which leads us to a final thought to leave you with. Maybe real sustainable success isn't just about your climb. Maybe it's fundamentally interconnected with supporting the climb of those around you.
It's about breaking down those silos we put up, embracing community, mutual support in everything we do, perhaps starting right now.